Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckin Around. My name is Tyler.
I am Steve.
And today we are really excited to welcome Jeremy Griffith to the show. But before we jump into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So, without further ado, here is Jeremy Griffith.
Los Angeles.
Hi guys, how are you?
What's up, Jeremy? How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How about you guys?
Doing well, man.
Can't
Doing
complain.
well.
Coming up on a long weekend here, so that's always nice.
Word, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you have anything planned for the 4th?
honestly, we're still pretty locked down here, so
Yeah.
we might spend time with my brothers, but other than that, nothing else. Go to a park where no one's at and like have my 2-year-old son kick a ball around. I don't know.
Hey, you know what you could do? You can go to the park and just sit, like, lay down and just go, ooh.
Yeah.
You can just do that.
Yeah, like because even though no one else is doing it, you lived it out.
Exactly.
Perfect. Good. Yeah, that's great.
How has quarantine in general been treating you other than with the holiday weekend coming up?
I'm coming to find just how patient my wife is. I go to work and my wife, like everything I do in Magic, pretty much ever since like the beginning has been like my wife has always sort of like, said, go, conventions, that's fine. Yeah, you need to balance cards, whatever you got to do, fine. But then when we had kids, it was like a negotiation thing of like, okay, what can I do to add enough value to her day to make it worthwhile for her to say, yeah, you go ahead and hold a jam every single damn week where you and your friends just sit around shuffling cards. No, I watch the children. That's fine. So ever since I've like had this like guilt thing on my soul for several years, and it's only now where I'm like coming to find out just like what it's like on a day-to-day basis to raise a toddler. And it's hard work, man. It is really like I thought I worked hard. No. So
It's the hardest job in the world.
Huh? Seriously?
The hottest job in the world.
I thought that was like a cute saying, but no, that's actually like that's the thing. Yeah, it's the hardest job you'll ever love, right? I
don't know if many people love it, but yeah,
right. Yeah. You love that.
If you talk to parents honestly, they're like, "Oh, I want to get rid of this damn kid. Like, I wish I never had it."
They're like date night, leave cereal on the ground, they'll figure it out. Yeah.
Exactly. What do you mean we can't put them in a cage? We're not allowed to do that?
Like, you'll figure out how to cook. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Milk all over the floor,
Yeah, it just gets worse from there.
Yeah. So you actually said like when it all started. Like when did you start getting into cards? When was the beginning for you? Was it Chris Ramsey video or?
Yeah, right. That's when I got a Magic set in my late 30s.
That's going to be our ongoing joke throughout the rest of Deckin Around is because so many people started Magic from the Chris Ramsey videos.
I get it.
We asked Dan Buck that last week.
Well, like Shin got started. That's how he got into Magic was YouTube. Started watching YouTube videos. So, no, I got started at sort of the quintessential thing. I got a Magic set, Mark Wilson's Complete Course in Magic, when I was 7, and came with the giant ass hardback book, and I carried that thing with me everywhere I went for like 2 years. I didn't read a
when you were 7.
7, yeah.
Dude, I was playing Matchbox when I was 7, or Transformers or something.
Yeah, no. I really because I wanted to be a superhero, and
Well, I did too. I did too.
Powers,
But I had the superhero underoos. But
you didn't go for Mark Wilson. You didn't make the leap from Superman to Complete Course in Magic because that's what
I thought the leap was Legos. I don't know.
No, that was I don't know what it was. It just like the bug bit me, and then it sort of hung around for a while. I didn't really do much with it, but I started like, I'm the one who knows how to do a couple tricks in my family. And then a couple of other things happened, like my dad took us all to a magic shop and we all got like our own tricks. My big brother got sponge balls. He is wicked good at sponge balls.
Nice.
Then my twin brother got Carl Full's self-working card tricks.
Okay.
And he's also wicked good at self-working card tricks. My twin was actually the one who got into cards And I didn't get into cards until I saw the movie Maverick and thought, I want to be that guy. You know? But then I got
self-working card tricks like 27th card and stuff like that.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay,
yeah, we're like you know, you count down or you've got like a small packet or something like that. But he can do them better than me. To this day, he can still do them better than me. And then I don't know, like I was really into it from like age 14 until about age 22. And I burned out. I was doing it for money. It was like survival food just to like get through, and I burned out. I was like, I'm not enjoying it because I'm doing the same 10 tricks over and over because they're the tricks that get me tips at restaurants. Yeah. And at the time, like the way that you absorbed information, you couldn't just go online and download a couple videos to find some new material. You had to like either buy a DVD, right? Ninja or something like that, or you had to like sit down and read. And I just didn't have the time or the focus or anything like that. So I just kind of gave it up, but I was still like, the bug didn't stop biting me. So I still carried a deck around. I just didn't practice publicly or anything like that. I still remembered how to do all those tricks because I've been doing them since I was super young. And then my dad passed away kind of out of nowhere, and I didn't find it out until after that he was a magician's assistant.
Oh, wow.
So all those times when he was like, oh, son, you should really like slow down and your hand is flashing here. I was always like the snot-nosed brat going, you know what you're talking about. I'm the one who studies magic. You don't know anything. Well, it turns out I knew all of it.
Interesting. Like, that's funny.
From about illusions on down, you know.
That's crazy.
And,
that's funny.
So I got on Instagram around that time, and there was like a budding magic community that was on there. And I thought, well, what the hell, you know? And so it was me, Alec Blanco, a few others from around here, David Bonfadini, a few other, Michael O'Brien, and then there was like Chris Ramsey, or there were like a couple of the guys from Illusionist, right? And so we all sort of like talked to each other, and we all interacted with each other. And the guys who started then and kept going with it, now all those guys have downloads and releases and books and all that fun stuff. But I really do think it's because it was like right place, right time. You know, I got onto a social media platform right when you could first upload videos, and all I have to do is 15 seconds. Like, I ain't got to do anything but just make a card change. That's it. Like, keep throwing things into my lap.
That's funny. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So now, how long have you been practicing magic for?
So my birthday was on the 16th. So
happy birthday.
30 years. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Nice. Dang, 30 years.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. With a focus on cards for about 15.
Okay.
For 15 years, I've wanted to, be that guy. I wanted to be, unstoppable with a deck. So
now you are that guy.
Oh, thanks, man.
Now, what?
All the people who kick my ass at poker don't believe you, but that's fine. I'll just.
You just have to learn how to just cheat and poker.
I need to learn how to play. I don't even know what it's that.
I mean, I guess if you can control the cards as good as you can, you don't have to bet. You just always win.
Okay, so that was the thing. I started hanging with a lot of like gambling aficionados, couple card cheats, couple reformed card cheats.
Reformed.
Yeah. And like these guys, like you find out all the context that's missing that like magicians try to sell as like, oh, this is how you would cheat at cards. And then you find out like how much of that would never fly even in a home game. And you see what the real work looks like. And it makes us look like we're just like clapping cymbals and lighting fireworks every time we second deal, because these guys are under the radar. Just there's nothing that they did. Yeah, because like, in a game, this was something that Conley taught me, right? That in a game, if you're going to cheat in a game, you better already be the best player. And the only reason you're cheating is to put the leg up on the natural luck that happens throughout a game, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all of us are thinking, oh, I'm going to walk in with my cowboy hat and my spurs, and I'm going to, take the money and walk out without my thumbs broken. Like, that's not going to happen. It's not how that works, So, Anyway,
That's funny. Oh, what do you mean I'm hiding a card? I don't know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. That's fun. It must be cool to like talk to those guys though and see how things are really done. You know, we were talking about this in our pre-show the other day, and it was just about like how, you know, when a new move is created, it's, you know, someone names it and they're like, I created this move, or you know, it's done this way. You know, when it comes down to it, like that stuff's been done like way before any of us have seen, you know, and it doesn't have a name because the people who invented it don't tell people that they invented it, and they don't show anybody.
Yeah. Your name's John Scarney? I know an Aces thing with you. Get the hell out of my yeah. But it really is like that. You know, that's the thing. It's like magicians. We always kind of want credit, but that's, you know, we're in show business. In one form or another, you are performing for people under the auspices of illusion, and that requires a bit of mystique and all that. And how mystique could it be if something is named after you? Like, all these people do these sleights and it's named after that guy. But I found out that only matters at a magic convention. Lay people don't give a good goddamn. They don't. Yeah. No, they don't even know to ask the question. You know, so
they don't. Half the people, those lay people, don't care enough to even look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna do an ACR, and they're like, card trick.
Yeah, right. Dude, I looked it up today. Chris Ramsey does a video on that.
Yeah, seriously.
That's funny.
Yeah, there's definitely a meme floating around where it's like the spectator walks up and he sees a deck of cards. He's like, I've seen this one before.
Yeah, I've done this. I know this one. You start, I'll finish. You start, I'll finish.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
I've had that. See, the worst one for me is like when what you're doing is so gorgeous and philosophical in your head, and you get to the ending and you give the like smirk that shows people you're ready to accept their applause like that.
I mean, that's
and they look at me dead in the face and they go, so what was the trick? And you're like, I've wasted my life.
That means you're too quick.
Yeah, that means that. It means you've dived so deep they didn't follow you into the matrix. That's all that
means. The subtlety wasn't there.
Yeah.
Well, the subtlety was too much there, but yeah, that's funny. So I guess
go ahead, I was just gonna say, like, since we were just talking about like flow and like the beauty of like a performance or something, one of the things that caught my attention, like initially, like when I first like came on the scene and I saw your video, actually before I knew who it was and saw it, like your name or anything, I just saw someone share one of your videos, and cool. One of the coolest things that you do that I'm just like, it's so like, I guess relaxing in a way and so cool to watch is just how you do like your, you know, obviously the decks on the table.
The strip out?
Like the top, the strip out, what you do, you know, obviously I can't do it in midair, but if you can show us a little something.
Yeah. So,
and I always thought it was like sped up because like it was just, you do it so fast sometimes. It's just like,
that's actually, so that even when I'm doing this, the way it should be is like this motion. It's like a circular motion, right? But this wrist always like locks, so it takes me a while to like rock it like that, right? And basically that's just a tabled version of an overhand shuffle, right? It's doing the same thing as this, just in the vertical and holding the opposite ends, right? But the nice part is when I'm doing that, every time I'm doing that, I'm setting a brief, right? So that's the original top. So if I cut, that's the top of the deck. So that's the only reason that I do that is so I can knock that out, and in the straightening up, I'm setting a brief, so that way I can cut back to the top and Bob's your uncle. Yeah.
Interesting. Nice. While you're in this orientation, you want to show us something?
Yeah, I could do that. Let's see here. I hope this isn't okay. You guys can see.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Go ahead and say stop.
Stop. I wasn't sure who was going to say stop. That's why I was like, is he going to do it? Is that
right? So
6 of clubs.
6 of clubs. Okay. So here's the idea: is that if you take the 6 of clubs and you hold it at just the right angle, it's invisible, right? Because no one can see through your hand. I mean, it's invisible from that way, but more importantly, it's Right? You can't see it from here. Even if you put it down, it's still invisible.
Correct.
Right? The only time that it becomes visible again is if you put it on top of the deck. Then it becomes visible.
That is so awesome. I don't even like. I'm speechless with that. Like that just is so smooth to me. Like that's awesome.
Thank you.
So good. So good. Yeah, your slides are just so fun to watch. Like it's definitely on another level. We have people like in the chat with like blown heads. You'll see them coming through in the comments section.
Oh yeah, I gotta look at this live comments.
Yeah,
I think
so good.
Well, it's funny because one of the comments earlier was like, the more I get into this community, the more I see gaff carts and gadgets, the more I rather look for a good story within the act. And I think one of the things that, from my point of view, is like, I'm always on the cusp of being like, all right, like I really want to get into magic and understand it more, but I love the feeling I get when I see an act that I'm like, I have no idea how that happened. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I almost don't want to lose that.
I get that. I absolutely.
Yeah. No, you know what the crazy thing for me is the fact that I was watching you and I'm like, oh, he's got it palmed, and then you showed it wasn't there. So it's like in my head, I'm like, I think I know what he's doing. You know, obviously you see a double lift in my head, and then I'm like, oh, he just palmed it. And then you showed it, and I'm like, oh, okay, he didn't palm it. Like,
no, maybe that's not what he's doing.
Yeah, and then that's the cool thing to me is when I do know that what a person's doing, and I still can't see it. Yeah. That to me is like even more like amazing. Is it's like, yeah, I know what they're doing. I know that they're palming it, but the way they're holding their hand
not helping.
Still doesn't show me. You know? Yeah, it's
that's how it is for me when I watch like Babel.
Okay,
that's why I was so intrigued by him when I first kind of got back into it, was because that was the thing. Yes, I could follow along, right? But and I might be able to reconstruct it. But one, there's a French style of magic, right, called the French aesthetic. Oh, wow. And the whole premise is, and it's sort of this unspoken premise, is that magic should be beautiful in execution as well as explanation.
Yeah.
Right. That the stories that you tell should be meaningful and powerful and intriguing and all of these other things, but that the execution of it should be just as intriguing, just as visually appealing, right? And so I'd watch them, and it's like, God damn it, he can do what I do, except he makes it look better, you know, like it's just pretty.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous to watch, you know. And then there are the people who conceptually just blow me out of the water, you know, Helder. Okay. Right. Helder, as when it comes to like I've got my I'd say my big three, right? So like Helder leaves me floored every time I've watched him. And I've done the whole Zoom show in the living room that he did. I'm there with my wife and everything, and we were both floored. It was still awesome. I went to go see him live when he did Invisible Tango. Right. And I've never been so astonished at the end of it, right? And then as far as like actual hardcore sleight of hand, it's Garrett Thomas, right? No one beats Garrett Thomas. Garrett Thomas, I was in the room. It was me, Franco Pasquale, Howard Hamburg, Chris Ramsey, the director of the Saw movies. Like we're all just like sitting there in this tiny room, and Garrett Thomas is up there, and Ramsey is like, just trust me, you guys are gonna do okay. And I've seen Garrett before, and Garrett starts going, and by the time everyone's done, like it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. This guy got you. He owned you.
That's awesome.
Like, because he's always 5 steps ahead of you. That's the way it is. And then Steve Valentine, for me, is just one of the best guys because he's a professional actor, right? So he knows how to invest emotion in a story, just every time. And I went to go see his show, and unfortunately the name escapes me, but I watched his show and I cried, I laughed, I was amazed. It's not even that the magic wasn't something I could follow, it's that I didn't care. Right. I was just so caught up in the story. Helder has the same thing. Helder, when he tells a story, you don't give a good goddamn. Like the magic almost becomes incidental. It's amazing, but it's incidental to the experience of what he's trying to give you.
Right. Yeah. So, I think that's like definitely something that separates good magicians to great magicians, right? Yeah. It's just like the delivery and how they're doing it and the story that they're telling. It's kind of like a dancer or a photographer. You know, it's like, you know, people who can tell those stories better with emotion. You're always captivated by that a little more because, you know, we all feel, you know, so it's so different.
Yeah, and you watch someone who has invested their life in like that aspect of it, and I ain't got nothing that does anything like that. Like there's not, like I'll make cards disappear all day long. I will palm the hell out of a deck, but I'm not keeping people so invested at the edge of their chair for an hour.
You're gonna palm a whole deck? You can palm a whole deck?
Yeah. Well, okay. A gambler's cop a whole.
I'm like, okay, cop. Okay, that's different. I'm like, damn, you can palm a whole deck.
Yeah, if you palm a whole deck, right? If you're right there, that's
okay.
For like, okay, copping it.
Yeah,
okay.
if you're doing like card to pocket, you could do it that way. Right.
That when you said I could palm the shit out of a deck, I'm like,
yeah, you're like, yeah, it's no good, but I will do it.
So now, you know, speaking about the idea of keeping people's attention for an hour and really with the way things go with social media, what are your feelings on a lot of this like TikTok magic that's coming out? And like maybe not even so much the idea of what do you think the impact of it, I guess, is on like card magic and things that used to tell that story versus now trying to finish in 15 seconds?
Before you answer that, is TikTok, I don't know anything about TikTok. Is it 15-second videos on TikTok?
So you can do up to a minute, but most of the time it's like they try and do a whole bunch of stuff. Like the magic oriented ones, it's like a whole bunch of like sequential clips fit into that minute. So it may actually be like highlights of like 30 minutes of stuff cut into a minute.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Sorry,
so I'm fairly honest about this. I can't knock it because that's exactly what got me big on Instagram. Was you know, when you first started, all you could do was 15 seconds.
Right. True.
And so all we could afford to do was a change or a ditch or you know a disappearance or a palm or some tiny technique, right? So if you watch all my original videos, it's me at my cubicle desk in our other office, just sitting there. Everyone thought that I worked in the shipping department because all the boxes that I just was too lazy to break down were behind me.
Nice.
But you know, this isn't new. That's the thing. It's old.
Right.
What Instagram used to be, and now they're sort of getting back to it with the whole stories aspect.
Yeah.
Right.
But and even before Instagram was doing it, Vine was doing it. You know, like all these other guys.
That's true.
Very true.
This isn't a new thing, and people have found a way to do really, really cool things. Can you invest meaning into 15 seconds? I don't know. I never did. There wasn't anything that I did in 15 seconds that I would think was highly impactful. I can tell you
the impact level is probably different for sure.
Yeah, well, and it's a different focus. You know, you're trying to keep someone's attention for 15 seconds. They're not looking to hang around. Right, more than likely not. They're not looking to like stick around for an extra hour after the show's done. Like this,
right.
They're looking to watch what you're doing and then move on to the next thing, right? So from that aspect, I would say I'm still in it. You know, if you watch any of my videos, they're compilations. They're just like what you were talking about. They're little chopped up 15 seconds of micro techniques, and rarely is it ever a full routine. And even if it were a full routine, it's only a minute. So it's still in that same space. So the only thing that I can say is you can be impactful. I don't know how meaningful you can be. You can still do shock, awe, and amazement, and you can, you know, really play with people's perception. Could you get them to emotionally invest in what you're trying to communicate? I think that takes a certain level of skill that you got to ask them better and stronger than me. I don't think that there's anything that I've done that's done. I've had people do it for me. You know, when they created the trailer for this guy. You know, I didn't create the trailer. I wasn't the one who did that, right? That was Dwayne at Illusionist. And that's the most meaningful thing I've ever done. All the trailers that have ever made me look cool were done by other people. So, you know, if you're talking about like investing and trying to get people to like not only pay attention, but actually have like an emotional experience with you, go talk to Dwayne at Illusionist.
Dude, he's literally 5 minutes down the street from me.
Dwayne from Illusionist?
I'm in Petaluma, dude.
Maybe we're thinking of different people.
Yeah,
he means Illusionist in general.
The company Illusionist is 5 minutes down the street from me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, Dwayne is in Cardiff, but or
okay.
Wales.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Illusionist warehouse might be 5 minutes from you, but that entire company is basically run by a bunch of haughty Welsh guys.
Yeah, well, you know what? Next time he's actually at Illusionist in Petaluma, let me know and I'll.
You got it. Yeah, I can do that. I can arrange. That's
excellent. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of ties into a good segue into your relationship with Illusionist and your decks. You know, how did you kind of get into that? Obviously, Steve has
keep going. No, keep going.
Obviously, you know, being as good as you are at card manipulation, how did you decide you wanted to create a deck of cards, and why Illusionist?
It didn't start that way. The first deck of cards that I ever created was a deck called Vitreous, and it was done with Brian Edwards.
You did Vitreous? You did Vitreous?
Yeah.
That was a cool deck.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, there's a white version, and is there a brown version or a black version?
There's a black foil stamp version that was made for my family. So that was a dedication deck that I did for my dad, right? Because that's why the King of Hearts has my dad's face on. But that one was like a Joss Whedon TV show. Like everyone loved it, but no one was watching. Like that one,
Dude, I had the white one for the longest time. It's a cool deck. I dig it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one, I did that, and then I was obsessed with Republic number 2s, because if you ever watched the trailer, you know why. But so I actually tried to buy the rights to it off Brad Christian, and Brad goes, "No, it's part of a series. I don't think we can do that." And then I said, "Well, will you let me buy the design rights and let me create a new version of it?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think we can do that."
Nice.
And so I did. We created the Royal Reserves, and then the card market got really saturated, and there were a bunch of sort of uncommunicated expectations on both sides with that deck beforehand. And so when it came time to print it and get ready to distribute, it wasn't a good time. And so everyone kind of took their toys and went home.
Okay.
And I didn't have I can't say I had the best relationship with Brad at the time, because I was still a bit salty. I thought, oh man, I had this deck taken from me, and it wasn't mine. I didn't buy the rights. I just bought design rights, And then Ramsey starts working for Illusionist.
Okay.
Right? And I had lightly spoken with these guys. All of us were in the 52, so we had all reached out because of that, but I had never met them in person. And Ramsey starts talking with Pete and Daniel, and they go, "Hey, Jeremy, what do you think about doing a project and creating a deck and everything?" And so from scratch, they invite me up to Santa Barbara. I meet all these guys in person for the first time. They were exactly like how I imagined they would be. And I knew Ramsey from a couple of years ago. And they treated me like royalty, and they never stopped.
That's
nice.
Cool.
I don't know why, but I'll take it. They just
probably because you're badass.
I didn't have to put in any money. They did my first release, the Instagram sessions. So I got to be part of the very first part of Magic Stream. When I went out to go do the pro sessions, right? They had talked, "Hey, we're thinking about, releasing Republic number 3s, doing it under a Cardamundi stock and everything. Do you want a version?"
Wow, that's cool.
It's yeah. But they've hey, that's the thing. These guys have treated me like royalty ever since. So yeah, they've always got my vote. Whenever it comes to releasing stuff, I always want to give them kind of right of first refusal, with one exception. I did the ripping project with my buddy Elliot and with Ron Conley at the very end of that with Vanishing, but pretty much everything else has been with them and through them, because they've always
taken care of you since day one.
Yeah, and they have cool. No that's the thing is I know on several occasions they've got no legal incentive to do it. There's no contract. Everything is literally pick of the hands. So they got a lot of trust in me that whatever I'm going to do is going to make it worth their while to fly me out or to fly their guys out to record me or something like that. Yeah. So they've cool. And they make really nice decks like that.
Yeah.
And I just all day long.
Since we are talking about your deck, That sounded weird. Since we are talking about the deck that you created,
There we go.
we have a we have a tradition here. Is basically we have a friend of ours. His name is Stu. I don't know if you know him on Instagram. His name is Courier Stu, and he does this thing where he sniffs decks and he eats cards.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know either, but he's really cool. And he's one of our buddies. He's from Australia. And we always get our guest to see if they will open up a new deck of cards and give it a little sniff and
Potentially eat a card.
you don't have to eat it, but if you want to, you can.
Card, you're more than welcome. But the sniff is the interesting part for us. Yeah. It's almost like like a wine tasting. So feel free to give us your notes on what you think about the scent.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So fun fact: I had a really bad allergy attack when I was a kid, and I know, like over the course of time, lost my sense of smell. So I have no idea what a deck of cards smells like. But what's funny is that because I lost my sense of smell, it's still there. It's just the nerves don't communicate the same way. So I breathe in through my mouth and I smell.
Interesting.
So I actually, like, if I'm smelling a deck, it's because I'm tasting it first. So I actually know exactly what these taste like.
Oh, what's up with that, Stu? How do you like that one?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a brand new, circa,
Los
2019 Cardamundi E7 stock. Yeah. Fine vintage. All right. So let's see.
Stu says, "Oh, deck tasting."
Yeah, there we go. Okay, this is just so people have an explanation. This isn't a gaff card. This is because I'm the 10 of spades in the 52, but the guy who designed this, Oben, is the 9 of spades in the 52. So this was a way that without putting his name on it, we could get both him and I like into the deck.
Nice.
So do I have to eat the whole card?
You don't have to. You don't have to eat anything if you don't want to, but if you're willing. Yeah.
Chris Brown was right. These taste horrible.
Yeah, they don't taste. It's basically glue. Like you're tasting glue.
Yeah.
Do us a favor. Sign that card and send it to us.
You got it.
We'll get all of them.
That I can do. I'll like spray it with disinfectant or something beforehand.
Put a mask over it. Put a mask over it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, seal it up, hermetically sealed. That's yeah. Okay, I really did.
That's funny.
It's a small gluey bit now, so there you go.
I've really seen a couple people actually swallow.
I chewed off all the color. There you go.
Yeah. I'm sure USPCC has better, like, because they have like the veggie-based inks and all that. There's my taste.
Right, they're vegan. Yeah, so that way when you're eating your average deck of cards, that's
Stay away from the China decks and the Belgian decks.
We could test this out. Hold on. Do I have jokers? I do.
The Ace Fulton. Is it different?
I'll be honest. It actually does taste better.
I mean, it's probably still not like good.
It actually tastes well because the other one tastes like look, this tastes like paper. But
Interesting.
All right.
And it breaks down when you chew it, which is comforting. So,
it's more sustainable. It's more sustainable.
Yeah.
But it's not just gonna get like stuck in you.
Yeah. What do you have between your teeth? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That's just an Ace Fulton.
I mean, listen, that would be an amazing reveal there.
Meanwhile, every deck collector is like, "What a dick."
Dude, you want to hear something funny? Actually, I did a giveaway, and this was a few months back. And the object, I mean, the what I wanted everybody to do was basically trash the deck. So,
yeah.
It could be as crazy as you want, whatever you got to do. And we had people do some cool stuff, flush it down the toilet. Like, one guy had a dog poop on it, like literally.
Wow.
Yeah, but one kid actually put it in a frying pan, fried it, like cooked it with food, put sauce on, like ketchup and everything, and then like ate it and like totally crushed it. It was so good. I'll have to find the video and send it to you.
That's a lot of dedication.
It was so good. Like I was
it might be
laughing
weird, but it's so like you invested yourself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was like a good video too. It was like your like mouth was watering, and then you realize he's cooking a cod.
Eating a damn deck of cards. Yeah.
It was so good. Yeah, his name's Camo. yeah, it was great.
If I wore a hat, hats off to you, Camo.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, listen, you've eaten a card. I've never eaten a card, so I have to say, mad respect to you on that one, man.
Oh,
It just
thank you.
doesn't seem appealing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll be honest. I've eaten paper, so I'm sure I'm pretty close to knowing what a card tastes like. But
Yeah, it's
whatever.
roughly the same thing. Just add a bit of glue, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I mean, we all ate glue as kids anyway, so
Yeah, right? I know I did. That's why I got into magic. It's because I
yeah,
was
exactly.
That's
At
right.
7, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, I have a headache from laughing so much.
So I guess one of the things I'm kind of curious about too is why. Well, not even why. Like you mentioned that you mentioned that you're a bad poker player. Why didn't those go hand in hand with you? Was it never really like an interest until later in life that poker was something
No, What's funny is everything I'm interested in would totally like lean into it. Like when I was in college, I studied math and physics.
Okay.
And you'd figure all the probabilities and everything. It would be all that. I've had it put very bluntly to me by Conley that I don't have the killer instinct. Like if I thought the guy at the other end of the table was going to lose his rent money to me, I'd kill. And he's right. I couldn't like for me, I have the poker face of a lying 5-year-old.
All right.
That's
fair enough.
It's not good. But the other side of it is that I am over empathetic with the guy that might lose something important.
Okay.
Which you're guaranteed to run into someone that's losing something very important.
Yeah. It was why I never got into like casino. Someone had actually asked if I ever worked at a casino.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't, largely because I couldn't like help someone smile through losing their rent money.
That would be
Couldn't do it.
That makes
tough.
I would actively be like, hey, listen, you're up. Best you leave now.
Walk away.
Yeah. But in a casino, it is your business to see that they stay.
Yeah.
And it is the dealer's business to convince them that one more hand is a good idea.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get around to that. So, which sucks because dealer schools, you learn how to do the whole sailing thing, but they also they spend a whole bunch of time on how to convince people to lose their rent money. It's just
Yeah.
So
I mean, nowadays the dealers aren't even touching the cards other than just sliding them out.
Yeah. Throwing them out of the boot. That's but you can still get hired for home games and private events and stuff like that, like casino nights and all that. But I don't know. And gambling in general, I love watching it from the sidelines.
Okay.
I love watching card cheating from the sidelines, but actively participating in it, I had it browbeaten into me by David Malik that becoming a card cheat will turn you into a cynical prick. It just will. Because what do you have to do? You have to look at someone in their face and not just lie to them in the sense of bluffing, but actively participate in deceiving them that the odds are even.
Yeah.
And that you're taking their money.
and then actively stealing. It doesn't matter how you play it or if they had a nice time, you're stealing.
That's kind of douchey.
Right? So put in that context, it seems less glamorous. And that's the other dangerous part is that we glamorize sort of that whole Lone Ranger kind of card cheating thing.
Yeah.
And the truth is, you might be charming, you might be a cad, but you're still a thief. It's tough. That's one of those things. I love those guys. That's the thing is I love hanging out with those guys. I don't have the fortitude to be that guy.
Yeah.
So that's good though. That's a good thing.
Yeah, right. I feel like you can have a family and kids, or you can be, one or the other.
Yeah, that's true. But or because if you're the other, you have to watch out for your family and kids.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. And the other thing is that because I'm very much invested in magic, you can't cross over.
Yeah.
Right? You can't be a magician and be actively accepted as a professional poker player because they're too adjacent, right? They're too it doesn't even matter if the only thing you know how to do is mnemonica. They're too close. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
And it's not even that you have to know sleight of hand. You might just be the guy who reads marked cards. It doesn't And if you've been playing poker or any other card game long enough, you know to watch out for guys who know too much about cards. It's like one of the lessons that I learned was, right, card players don't practice shuffling, they practice playing. So if you ever see someone who's shuffling a little too neatly, they've been practicing shuffling. Why would you practice shuffling? The whole practice is to mix cards. So the worse it is, the better, right? But if it's too neat, now you're trying to control something, right? So it circles back to like that whole gambling protection sort of mindset of like, you're too good to be real, right?
Right, yeah.
So you watch the guys who are like the best at card cheating, and they handle cards like hell. Like, it's not a pretty sight, and they still get the job done, right? You watch guys who talk about guys who do that, and it's always gorgeous. It's always pristine and pretty, and they're likely not doing any of it. They're not doing it under fire. They're not like in a game doing that. People like me, if I'm doing it pretty, it means I'm not like out every Wednesday night at the local poker table, just, raking in all the dough. I'm like feeding my baby. That's anyway.
So not even a dice game kind of guy.
Huh?
So not even like a dice game kind of guy. No gambling on the table for you.
I love the like mental psychology aspect of it. I love the game theory aspect of it. I think it's fascinating what people can do with incomplete information. I'm actually listening to a book. What is it called? I think it's called The Biggest Bluff, written by Anna Konikova. Let me see.
Okay.
Maria Konikova. Hold on. Yeah, Maria Konikova. That's called The Biggest Bluff. And she's fascinating, right? So she originally wrote a book about how to think like Sherlock, which was great, called Mastermind. Then she wrote a book about the art of like the con. I think it's called The Confidence Game, where she talks about how cons work and the psychology of it. But this one is when she decided to just become a professional poker player to learn how they think, to basically learn game theory and decision theory. And I love that. I love chasing like that psychology of it because it melds into Magic a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
The way people naturally make decisions and the way they choose what's important, the way they choose like what to focus on and stuff like that. It's adjacent, but they're separate disciplines enough that if you study one, you don't automatically know the other, right? You could study Magic your whole life and know exactly 0 things about decision theory. You just know that you're supposed to tell people the card is going into the middle and make them believe it. That's it. That's as far.
Yeah.
But I feel like the people who know both disciplines, those are the people like Helder. And I want to be like Helder when I grow up,
Yeah. Now, who do you think is like the modern day, like, magician, but the modern day con man? Like, who do you think is like the top 3 right now magicians who you'd be like would be a good con man or a con woman?
Oh, that sounds easy. Or Paul Wilson.
Paul Wilson?
He did a whole TV show on it, one. But also, I've heard in circles that he's probably the only guy who could do it legit.
Yeah.
That pretty much everyone else is, if not faking it, then they've never been seen under fire.
Right.
But Paul, I think, has the demeanor, the fortitude. Everything I've studied from him, everything I've watched makes me believe that he's probably the one that could do it. Whether he would or not, because that guy actually has a pretty strong North Star morally. I think that's a whole other conversation. If he were so inclined, should he ever decide to become a supervillain, I think he'd make a fantastic one. But I'd say,
ironically enough, I think we actually had a question come in. That right there kind of cued this for me, and it was the most random question because usually a lot of our questions that come in are card related, and this one was actually comic related. So saying superhero right there kind of triggered it for me. Are you a Marvel fan or a DC fan?
Okay. I'd say. Oh, see, that's tough. I think DC does better at TV. I think Marvel does better at movies just because of the funding.
So that being said, then have you been watching any of the DC shows that they've been coming out with in the past year?
No, I love like I can watch
Doom
Arrow.
Patrol.
wrong. Like that for me is like some of the best TV. But I feel like the best ones are like the off-brand ones that got acquired by the big houses. So like V for Vendetta is Shakespeare to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you quote Shakespeare. You know, that's one of those ones where it is pure philosophy in the guise of a comic book and a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's my problem with Marvel. Okay, like I think Marvel does better in the movies for sure, but I think DC does better at editing their films. I think they're just very consistent, and I think their fight scenes are way better than Marvel. All Marvel's recent fight scenes take place in like big open spaces, like fields and hangars and like worlds that don't exist, where there's no like interaction with anything around them. You know what I mean? And I think that's like a huge downfall of the new Marvel movies. Is they're all just there's no choreography with the fight scenes that like DC has. You know?
Well, like like what was it when they were talking about like the Superman Man of Steel, right? How if they were fighting and they were as strong and as fast as everyone was advertising, it wouldn't look like a boxing match.
Right.
It would look otherworldly. They wouldn't look like they're running at each other. They would look like they're teleporting because they're moving so fast.
Right.
When they hit, if they're hitting with the strength of a tank with every punch, it would break all the windows, right? It wouldn't like leave all the buildings standing. So I know they caught a bunch of hell, like, the Superman movie was just like watching them destroy a city, but that's actually how it would go. So there's a realism to that total fantasy that I thought was great. And then the Dark Knight trilogy, as far as that's the other one, is the Dark Knight, right? When you finally get Heath Ledger to play a Joker so bad that he's likable on the other end, that you want to care about this guy, you want to know what's the actual story for the scars.
Yeah.
Again, that's pure philosophy hiding behind a comic book. It's one of the only ones to win an Academy Award, and there's a reason. So from that aspect, DC has a stronger
storytelling.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Now, I loved all the Captain America movies. Like Winter Soldier for me was best Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was the best.
Suicide Squad. Luke said Suicide Squad is awful.
But that's the thing. It's like there was a cheesiness to it, but it was also like if you lean into the cheesiness, then it's a really enjoyable movie. If you go in expecting a disaster, you come out and that wasn't half bad.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of still a disaster.
That's when it's going to be, Yeah.
Speaking of Joker, Jackson from King's Wild said, "Who's this Joker we have on?"
Oh, C. Jackson. Okay, no, not kidding. My wife reached out to him, right?
Let me guess. He ignored her.
Yeah. He literally basically like blew her off and said, "Your money's no good here." And then he sends me this like for my birthday. I get this this is Jackson again treats me like royalty, right? If it wasn't Illusionist, it'd be Jackson. That's how it goes. But he sends me like this handmade box. And inside the box is like a copper printing plate with an ace of hearts. It's like the original copper printing plate.
Yeah.
And then like a hand-stamped foiled deck of cards.
Yeah.
Like hand-cut, hand-stamped, massive, thick deck of cards. And it's a total collector's item, totally unusable to someone like me.
Oh, you got the Intaglio set.
Yeah.
What is it?
Is it the Intaglio? Yeah, it's the Intaglio deck. Dude, keep that deck. That's like a $5,000 deck.
It's a ridiculous deck. It's like
just keep it. Keep it. It's like
away from all the children, away from me. And I'm sitting there like I'm looking at this thing, and because the first time, this is the thing you got to understand about Jackson. Like Jackson is the guy who will send you like 50 dozen roses just because he thinks you're a cool dude. Like one day,
so basically what you're saying is he doesn't think Tyler and I are cool at all.
He doesn't like you at all. Really?
Well, he did come on the show. He did come on the show and talk for 6 hours. So he likes
so we met up the first time that we actually met in person. It was me, Kim, Chris Chelko, and Dave Buck. And then Jackson had brought a friend of his. And we went to like this hoagie place in LA that had a speakeasy in the background, right? In the very, very back, you could make your way back, and they had like fine cocktails and everything like that. And he was just this like down to earth dude. Like he keeps making these works of art that I had seen before. You know, at the time for me, it was like the Moriarty deck, right? His Sherlock Holmes deck, the like Moriarty edition. Like that was the thing that I kept in like my little box, and that was it. And then I meet him and I find out his story, and it's cool to watch someone go from like a totally like normal mundane existence, and then they lean in on their passion and they become massively successful at it, and they develop a name for themselves. And I had never watched that process from start to finish. You know, and Jackson was one of those people where I got to see it. Ramsey, same thing, right? I got to see these guys go from like, oh, they had a totally normal existence, and then they leaned in on something and it worked. And don't get me wrong, they worked their asses off, but you watch like what came out the other end, who they are now and what they create now, and it's out of all proportion to what they were probably thinking of in the beginning. But like Jackson was like my first example of that. And the decks were great. You know, they weren't just like a great design or something like that. Like the decks handled really nice. Like that guy can do one level quality control. You can just tell, you know.
Oh no, he's top notch on all that for sure. And if something's like not perfect, he doesn't put it out.
He
gets rid of them for like $3 a deck, and we all buy them anyway.
Like pallets of cards, just because they didn't live up. But like my first interaction with him, like sending me something, was I got this massive ass box, like literally this big, chock full of like the new Tally-Ho deck.
Nice.
I didn't request it. It wasn't anything I asked for.
But that's the thing. That's why you get it. Let me tell. Tyler and I talk about this all the time. Whoever's listening, okay, don't ask for decks, man. Like, don't ask for a plug. Don't ask for decks. Don't ask for stuff. Let the shit happen naturally. Let Jackson send you a box of decks.
Yeah, let him find
just let it happen. It'll happen. Just do your thing, and it'll all come out. It'll happen. You'll get your box of Tally-Hos. You'll get your
You'll be fine.
People will share your stuff.
Exactly.
Exactly. You might not get an attack deal, but you'll be all right.
Okay, so when I first started Instagram, I'm not kidding you. That was my goal. My goal was like, if it turns out that I get free cards every once in a while, that would be a thing. And now I've got to put them in a storage unit, like, because I've got more decks that I can use. Not Jackson's. Like Jackson's, you put that in a goddamn safe. But
dude, you put that in a safe deposit box so nobody touches it.
Yeah, right. That's
With one of those like little packets you get that sucks out all the moisture.
I've got a lab over there that has a bucket of those. I like.
Dude, put that in a box, in a safety box with the deck, and you'll be good to go.
Right. That's it. No, I am a big believer that it's important to ask people ahead of you for help.
Yeah.
Not stuff. You don't need stuff. I can tell you, I have been put to shame by like 13-year-old kids that are using a deck that's 20 years old, recording on a phone they had to borrow from their big brother, using internet from the restaurant across the street. That kid will hand me my ass every single day of the week because he loves it.
Yeah.
That's what pushes him. Like this kid chases it with a passion. For him, magic is life. It's breath. It's everything. And there's a time where he's going to have more followers than me. He'll have a bigger channel than me. He'll be doing live shows. He'll be doing all the things that I don't do because he lives and breathes it. That's what that kid needs. He needs encouragement. He needs someone like me to go, hey, have you seen that guy? He doesn't need decks because he can do it with anything. Right. Well, and the funny thing is, my princely self, I'm like, oh, I dropped a card. I think I need to open the deck.
You're like,
I'm so tired of you.
I mean, the funny thing about that kid, though, too, is he's sitting there doing it, like you said, for the passion. He, at the end of the day, in 5 years, could still have 10 followers, and he's still going to be doing it because he does it out of love. The number there doesn't matter. And I think that's one of the things that we see a lot now is so many people are so hyper fixated on, I have 500 followers, I have 5 million followers, I have this many likes and views. Like, at the end of the day, if you put out something you're happy with, that's more important than 1 million people watching and liking your stuff. Like, You got to be happy with what you do. You have to be passionate about what you do. And it, like you said, in time, it comes naturally because those people are the ones who aren't striving to hit some fictitious goalpost. They're just trying to be the best person they can be. And that shines through.
Yeah.
That makes me think of, do you guys follow Stephen Kahn 98 on Instagram?
Stephen Kahn.
Oh, it's Stephen.Kahn.98. Look at this. Look at this. He has, I assume it's his son. Look at this. It's this little kid just crushing it.
Hold on. Spell it out.
Stephen with a V.
K-A-N.
K-A-N.98.
Yeah.
Well,
I highly recommend going to watch this kid. Like super young. He's probably like what, 6, 7 years old. Just killing it. Kind of probably like the
top cup. Look at this kid.
It's ridiculous. Like he's ridiculous.
He lapped that.
Yeah. I mean he's good.
Dude, that showmanship. Look at this guy. Okay, yeah, we're talking about that guy on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
I think people like that, it's just like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. They're practicing like at 7 years old, like you did, and it's just different now than it was when you were 7.
That's the thing is like the amount of information that's available and the speed that kids can take it in anyway.
Yeah.
I only think that Magic is going to get stronger because of that. I don't think it's going to get weaker. I think that because you know how they say you can teach a kid as many languages as or a child will learn as many languages as you can teach them.
Yeah.
I think the same thing is true with Magic. I think they will learn as many and as deep and as far and as wide about Magic as you will give them. And and the only thing that requires is the patience to stick around while they, fumble it up. Yeah. Dude, there's a video somewhere floating around out there. I was in Blackpool, right, in February. And this kid comes up and he's got tiny hands. And he's rocking it. He does, he does a pass better than me. He does top change. He does all this other stuff. And I almost cried. I was like, you're the next generation. Just take my car. I'm not kidding you. I carry a giant Phoenix parlor deck now because part of me wants to know what is it like for
oh, that's funny
to do all this stuff. And I try. I literally have tried to do all this. I can't do a pass to save my life. I could do.
That's still better than a pass that I could do.
I think I could probably do the table stuff. I can't muck.
Right. What?
Well, could yeah, you're not gonna know until you try.
Hold on. Let's see. Let's see if you guys buy this. All right. So, Ace 5.
Yeah, it works.
Dude, that was funny. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you jerk. It worked.
Yeah. No, but you watch that's what I mean. That sort of indomitableness.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what happens. That's kind of why I like hanging out with the guys at Illusionist is because I've watched the market change. I've watched it go all over the place. I've watched artists become savants, become blowhards. I've watched it all, right?
Yeah.
And I've been at it for 30 years, so I've gotten to watch sort of the change in the media and all that fun stuff. And a couple of the guys at Illusionist and a couple of the guys I know from Instagram, people that I know from this, from this world, from the conventions and everything, I watch their take on it and they always catch guff for seeming like they're slower, like they're not on the latest thing. They don't have a TikTok account or anything like that. And the truth is that they're so busy guiding the market that they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't need to.
They're not always it's not always they have 1 million followers. Like you said, it's not even that they have 1 million followers. What they have is 1,000 people who respect their opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
Or 100 people who just want to know what they're working on next.
Yeah.
I think that's so much more valuable.
Alex Hansford is a perfect example of that. That guy releases anything and it's art.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll buy anything. Tom Rose, same thing. Right. Andrew Frost, these guys, the whole British connection. That's obviously I need to go spend more time over there. But I like, if there's one thing that I communicate, because I got a large number of followers, but I think that I probably hit like the upper limit of people that are interested in gambling slides at the card table. It's about 56,000 people.
Okay.
On Instagram. Because now whenever I post a video, I don't gain more followers. Right. And that may just be the algorithm or whatever, but I feel like I've hit like an upper limit, and that's enough for me. That's, that's good. That's what I can maintain while still loving my wife and my children. Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
But there are guys that they've got 100 followers, 1,000 followers, and I would die. I would pay money to just sit with them.
Yeah.
And hear their thinking, because they've taken the time.
Yeah.
They've invested themselves in a way that is meaningful. If I want to know about how to create a beautiful deck of cards, I talk to Jackson. If I want to know about how to succeed on social media, I'll talk with Ramsey. If I want to know photography, talk with the guys who specialize. But those specialists aren't always famous.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases,
no, that's the thing though. We've had this conversation before on the show, and what it comes down to is it's like the people who actually do, right, are the ones that don't care because they're too busy doing it.
Yeah.
They don't care about all the other stuff. It's like, this deck is worth $10,000. You're like, I don't care. I use this rider back and I could do the same thing with it that you could do with that $10,000 deck. So it's like the magicians don't care that you have a collector's edition deck. Yeah. What it comes down to is they're still using a rider back in their
your ass like that. Well, that's like, I don't want to fault the quality of the tools.
Of course.
But it takes a long time for it to matter.
Yeah.
It really does. It took me 30 years before I felt like I had the right to use particular styles of cards for particular things that I like doing. Like I do a lot of tarot shuffle work, right? So if I get a deck that's, traditionally cut and has smooth edges, I like using that. That's a luxury that I indulge in. But could I pharaoh a regular bicycle deck from, the drugstore? Yes, absolutely. Right? It's not something like, and that's why people say, oh, if I had better cards, I'd be better at this. And that's BS. Again, that kid using the 20-year-old deck is about to hand you your ass. It's just
and it's just how it is. It's like, the people that are doing. They're too busy doing than like to complain about a deck or, and I think that is how it is in any aspect. It's like you just don't have time to complain because you're just doing what you need to do. There's no
get busy. That's the thing. We sort of the groups that I'm involved in. I had always said, like, once I got over the whole getting free cards thing, the next goal was earn a seat at the table. Yeah. Right. And it's not the type of thing you can ask for. It's the type of thing you just gotta get busy. You really need to like hunker down and focus on a couple of things, which is why I recommend like specializing for a while, not the entire time. Don't just sit there doing one thing over and over again, because that's sort of how I feel about like with ripping. I got so caught up with ripping that was all I did for like 3 years solid. And I didn't focus on the other things that I liked. Like I could have spent a year and a half and gotten probably about 95% of the way as far. Right. And then moved on to mucking. And then I would have, been a year and a half further down and stuff, like all that stuff. But it's important that you focus. It's important that you go deep down into something, because that mastery will bleed out into everything else that you do.
Yeah, that's true. We actually got a question about ripping, which is perfect timing. Sack asked Jeremy about ripping. Was it something you thought of first and then figured out how to do it, or or were you fooling around with cards and kind of did it and then realized you had something?
It was very, very much that. It was the second thing. It was most everything that I do was not, I want to figure out how to make this thing happen. It's, that's weird. Like it was, nearly every single recording that I've done on Instagram was actually me practicing. And then when I bumped up against something intriguing, I would practice that. And then when I felt I had it good enough, that's when I would record it and make it part of the compilation. But it was 3 to 4 hours a night. It was a lot of practice. It was a lot of like deep dive into stuff, but it wasn't like a guided deep dive. It
Right.
I'm going to practice, strictly the push through shuffle for 3 months solid. It definitely wasn't that. With gripping, there were inconsistencies in the decks that I was using, and I was spinning through so many decks over the years that I started to take notice. And then once I saw it, I didn't know what to do with it. There was one deck where it pulled easy at the ends like this, but it was actually a kid, Chris Kraft, right, who came to one of my jams where I kept trying to do it like this. And there is a way to split it like that. But he goes, well, what if you just put your thumb on one side on that inconsistency and then just keep your other hand? And he was right. And then I was hunting, right? Then I was trying to figure out, okay, well, could you use it like a stripper deck? Could you use it like how many different ways could you use it? And that's the thing. The power of a stripper deck is not, oh, look, there's the 4 aces.
Right.
That isn't it. It's that you could use 1 ace like you would a crimp to find their color. Or it's that you could shuffle and pull them as you're shuffling so that they're called to the top. Or you could use it as or you could use it as a number of other things. Get it out of the deck completely, right? Yeah. So when I really started researching it, that is probably my only contribution to that science, because the idea of a natural stripper has been around far longer than I have. As long as there have been inconsistencies and people that fiddle around nonstop with decks of cards, that secret has been an open secret. Maybe not published very well, because it wasn't widely published anywhere that I saw.
Things back then, like they weren't really published like they are today anyway. Like a lot of people didn't get that stuff out at all. They kind of held on to it. There's
some guy like Herman Benson from the 1930s in his local New Jersey Magic Club has a pamphlet on this, and there's some guy who runs his local library who's going to kick your ass for calling it yours.
That's true.
I got so many people who came out afterwards who said, "Oh, this is work that I've done for years."
Yeah.
And the truth is, if you ever run into that, it's best to just cop to it and say, "Hey, excellent," and then ask them what they came up with, because chances are you wouldn't have even thought of it, but don't do this thing of, well, screw you, it's mine.
Right. Yeah. That's a little ego. I mean, that's like, there's ego in everything. Right. And I think once you get into that aspect, it's kind of like, just like be humble and be like, oh, well, thank you for creating it. How did you do it? Like you said, just ask about it, learn more about it, how it was originally done, and see how you can perfect it.
Well, and I'm speaking from a point of privilege. I don't do this for a living. I don't have to put food on the table by doing what I do or creating what I create. There are people out there who do, in which case for them, it might be a fight, it might be a struggle, it might be a war they need to win, or it may just be a point of personal pride, like they invest in themselves in this. And now some young upstart named Jeremy from Instagram or whatever that is, goes and does
6,000 followers.
Congrats. Meanwhile, he just released a project that this guy uses for his professional repertoire, and he very rightly is upset about that. Okay, fine.
Right.
Have that conversation.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to have that conversation. Is what it comes down to. Ali asked, "Do you ever have any thoughts about going on Fool Us?"
I've been offered it, and I don't think there's anything that I do that would fool them.
Okay.
I don't. Well, it's not that I don't think that I could do something. It's that the style that I've focused on for so long plays well to a camera pointed directly at me.
Yeah.
Or maybe from the sides, but it's very much under my control, and it's always micro techniques.
Yeah.
Like maybe the last video that I posted shows some of the longest stuff that I do, but what these guys are looking for is not something that in general I do.
Right.
And I'm not ashamed of that, but I also need to announce beforehand the limits of what I do, which is it probably wouldn't play well on TV.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Tyler, you want to ask this next question?
Luke's question? Yeah, I can ask this. I never mind. I enjoy a good Luke question.
So good. Luke is awesome. Luke Wadey He creates the grid decks. This
So
is Luke.
Luke wants to know if you had to adopt a facial/head hairstyle from Tyler or Steve, which do you think would be best on you?
Do I get to mix and match?
You can mix and
Sure.
match it.
Okay. Well, then I would say.
You're also not going to hurt any feelings.
You know what, Tyler? I think it would be you because you're growing hair in both places that I can't. So
Yeah.
I'm very
But
happy.
Jeremy, he's bald down there.
Which I hear people like now. I hear that's a thing. So
Good.
twofer.
Nice.
There we go. That's
Too much Pornhub, man. Too much Pornhub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How we went from playing cards to crotchal hair design, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Evan said Steve's hair though.
Steve does have luxurious locks, but
Well, he can't see them.
I wouldn't know. That's the thing. You always keep saying the man bun. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Honestly,
It's really hot in this room. If I take it down, I'll be like sweating.
the first time Steve brought it down on the show was when we had ECAT on.
ECAT.
And someone in the chat was like, I think Steve's trying to like front on ECAT.
It was funny because I was gonna have my girlfriend do the braids that ECAT does and like have it for that show.
That would have been great.
I was too lazy.
Spectacular.
I was too lazy.
That's right.
Yeah, sitting through that when it took too long, I was like, man, it's not worth it. Maybe next time I'll do it.
Right. Next time he comes on. Yeah. Circle back around to that. Very good.
Yeah. That's fun.
So you kind of mentioned earlier that you've run through a lot of decks in your time, and obviously you've been doing this for quite a while now. Do you have what I guess maybe a two-part question here. What's your oldest deck you have? And is it like just something that you happen to have, or is there a sentimental reason behind it?
Oldest deck I have is from my original Magic kit. And it is the original Black Tigers.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
The white one?
So when those first came out, I got
The white pips, right?
Huh? Yeah.
The white pips.
Nice.
Yeah. Back before they realized that was going to be a tough thing for people to follow.
Yeah.
Before it was printed in red. Yeah, I snagged those. I even have the really bad Vipers. You remember like when they first
Tally Ho Vipers?
The Tally Ho Vipers, but the stock was super weird.
Yeah.
I have one like right next to it. But yeah,
Nice.
that's all, like in my storage unit, in my original Magic case, it's in there.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I've got that one. I still have the original Gaff deck, the Daniel Garcia Gaff deck.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
So a couple of those. The oldest, but that's old for me personally.
Yeah.
Chris Dixon sent me Jerry's at one point.
Oh, cool.
And, if you know anything about Chris, he's an incredible forger, but he's also, a playing card nut.
Nice.
And so he just sent me one out of the blue, said, hey, I've got this one right here. I thought you might dig it because I had just done the ripping project. And he sent it to me. I tested ripping, works on those too. So totally could have ripped off Casino in the 70s. But that's probably my oldest one.
Okay.
Nice. What do you feel? How do you feel about the new Jerry's craze and all the different colors coming out? And
I'm kind of ambivalent about it.
You're what?
I'm
you say ambivalent about it?
Yeah, I don't know that I've got stake in that game. That's not to downplay like what people can do with those. I think it's a great deck.
Yeah.
To the same extent that I think because I don't know the designer, I don't have any stake in the game.
Okay.
To me, it's another deck of cards that's got a rainbow of colors that you can choose from. I don't know if I would invest heavily in collecting any of them. If it were, like when Jackson did like the whole series with the same company, the Conjuring Arts Research Center. Like I love those pieces. Whenever Daniel was creating a deck, right? When Ramsey creates a deck, because I know those guys, I get a lot more heavily invested. Whispering Imps, Black Whispering Imps. That's my jam, right?
I heard
Coco did a black edition of the Whispering Imps. It was the second one that he did. And Chris is like one of those under the radar, beautiful creators and everything. He's done a couple of projects with Jackson. And for my birthday, that was what I wanted. For my 37th birthday, I wanted some Whispering Imps. And he sent them to me. And so when they arrived, it was like, oh, oh, just, because they're very expensive. They're, I don't know, like on eBay, they go for like $50 a pop or something.
Yeah.
And because we know each other, we traded, right? So I sent him a brick of these guys, and he sent me a brick of his. And it was the first time I could do that. That was like the first time I got to trade creator to creator. And
That's
it was
cool.
so much fun,
I heard you had a Whispering Imp story.
I have a Whispering Imp story.
About how you may have lost one.
I heard you had an issue once with a Whispering Imp deck.
Yeah.
You want to share that story?
Are we talking the Blaine story? Yeah. So here's the thing about Blaine. There's got to be a bunch of stories that start like that.
Right? Tyler has one too.
He can carry a deck of cards like it's no big deal. He literally just like grabs it, like he puts one fist like that, and then
How does he do it?
Huh?
It's all about like your hand placement and like getting the leverage.
I think that's his form. But anyway, so that's a thing he does. So I go to visit my friend Priestley in the hospital. He's recovering from something, and I walk in, and in the corner is David Blaine, like you do, and his daughter is out there, entertaining the staff, doing mnemonica better than you, me, or anyone else that that knows mnemonica, and we have a small conversation, and at the end of the conversation, basically, is that I have a tattoo on my arm and that I do a trick using that tattoo. And he goes, "Oh, that's really good. Thank you." And it wasn't. It was just like a classic force. But it was all I could think, because I got really heavily into cards in part because of David Blaine. It was
You
like,
got blamed, man. You got blamed.
So I'm freaking out just a little bit, trying not to fanboy out. And I didn't do well, but I tried. And he goes, "Do you want to see something?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I had a deck of Whispering Imps. He takes the deck of yoink. I was like, and part of me is really impressed that, oh my God, this very, very famous magician
ruined my shit.
tore it in half. But the other part of me is like, bro, that was my Whispering Imps deck. Like, it was like this really like cherished deck of mine that I really actually kind of liked, and then but you don't want to be rude. You don't want to like slap him out of his hands and go, "Stop it, David Blaine." Stop putting shit on my body, David Blaine. But it was like one of those moments where I didn't know how to feel, so I just sort of looked in awe, and I'm sure that's how it came off. Was just I was in shock that a human being could carry a deck of cards, and what the real problem was. Dude, that deck was really expensive, and at the time it wasn't for free. So I was like, didn't quite know how to reply to it. I still have that deck. It's Priestley, like framed it.
Dude, you gotta take a picture and you gotta take a picture and post it.
I can that. Yes,
that'd be cool.
I feel like you probably in your stupor also thanked him for ripping your deck of cards.
Yeah, it was very much. Thank you, sir. I have another kind of
like, oh, I also have this, OG Jerry's here. You want to give it?
Here's my driver's license. Tear that in half. Like anything. Tear everything I've got.
But hey,
you should have just got the deck back and just threw all the pieces at him.
Yeah, right. Just,
and then stormed out, being like, "I hate you, David Blaine," and then just left.
Gator boots. Do you remember the Gator boots trick? And have you ever done it to someone? The Gator boots trick. No, I don't know what that is.
That's Kyle. He probably doesn't mean anything.
Oh, okay.
We have Kyle.
We do have a Kyle question. We can ask that in a few minutes. So Kyle also is he creates, he makes his own gaffs, and he's pretty interested in magic, we'll say. I think he's been doing it for a very long time. So he's very knowledgeable and has a lot of old school knowledge.
Okay.
So, but we've always had we also have a Kyle question that comes up every episode. So Kyle is Diesel Illusions.
I know Diesel Illusions.
Yeah, we love Kyle.
Kyle's an absolute gem, and he just started getting into cutting decks of cards. So earlier he said, if you gave me a $10,000 deck of cards, I'd probably cut it. So
yes, I know Diesel. Yeah, I know his work very well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So let's hear the question.
Okay, so yeah, let me see. So Kyle just said, look it up. It's a Daniel Garcia trick. So, and I'll link that in the comments below for anyone interested. I just got to write it down because I'm not going to remember that otherwise. Gator boots.
Did we talk spread pass yet? No, we didn't.
Chris is a big Magic fan. Loves Magic. Dude practices literally 27 hours a day. Like,
shit.
Oh,
Okay.
dude. Yeah, he loves Magic, so he's probably just like, he wants to see some spread pass.
There you go. Ready? This is like my Ramsey moment. Here we go. All right, let's see here. Ugh.
You have to do the whole talk. You know, well, Chris, I'm going to teach you this right here.
Yeah, here. This is what it looks like. So that's the 4.
I already did it.
Yeah.
I already did it. I'm waiting for it, and I was like, oh, I already did it.
Yeah. So it's just
That's sick.
There's so you have the challenge, right? So being able to do it right face up and get to the top, and right. So it's just around about that. The tough parts are like when you have it like sticking out. Right? So you do the whole thing, right? And so in the act of taking it out, you're doing the pass.
Right.
So it would look like if I took 2 cards, this is what I did on the second Ramsey video, but I don't think it played well. So if I wanted the 4 to come on top, in the act of like getting that out, I could bring it up to the top.
Okay. Damn. That's smooth, man.
Is it a turnover pass?
No, it's a spread pass. So
you don't do the
it happens in the act of squaring up a deck from a spread.
Oh, interesting. And so is it done on the bottom? So are you doing the spread on the bottom and then just passing it to the top?
It's essentially a Herman pass,
Okay.
but with the spread as like the cover action.
Dang.
So, yeah.
Wait, there you go, Chris. What's this called? What's that called?
Yo.
Someone asked, what is it?
Yo. It's a Lee Asher move.
There you go. It's called Yo. Somebody asked what it was called.
We should have gotten Lee to do that on the show.
I didn't even know, Yo. I didn't know, Yo.
I reached out to him and I was, because I was going to release my first thing and I really didn't want to tick anyone off. And
on
so
the Royal Reserve?
No, the Instagram session where I teach Yo in there so that way I can teach you like how to catch the aces off of Yo. And he told me that's actually an R. Paul Wilson move. And so I was going to be in Blackpool and I was gonna, this was before I had released any of the projects or anything. And then there's R. Paul Wilson. So I asked R. Paul Wilson if I could teach that. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I think we were drunk when I came up with that. You do it very well. You should teach it. You should do that.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Done. Sold. I've got permission. Everyone heard it. Everyone
That's cool. Who cares? He was like shit to the wind, like drunk on 96 beers. You're probably like, whatever. He said, yeah. I recorded it.
yeah, right.
Oh man.
Because I had done it on Instagram. Like that was the thing. Like I was performing it. I didn't know. I found out how to do it because I had a really messed up deck with a breather and it kept breaking there.
Oh, interesting.
And so then it became a thing of like, well, can you stab a card in the break, or can you make cards fly up, or can you, in the act of doing Yo, because of the breather, it means the cards below the breather fall further. So what if you put the breather much lower? Would the cards fall into Gambler's Comp? And they do. All kinds of stuff. In fact, if you put the breather directly underneath the top card and then click the deck, when you do it, the top 2 cards rotate once, so it does a card change. So you can do all kinds of like fun stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you're like, if you're bored enough, you can figure out this fun stuff and then start an Instagram account.
That's crazy.
That is awesome.
That's funny. Luke asked, he says, what's your thoughts on the importance of originality in card design? Should designers strive for individuality or aim to develop or improve existing styles or concepts?
I think both are valid. I've seen both executed really well. And I honestly think the willingness to accept feedback from your audience, honest feedback, and then know what it is that you really want to create, and be willing to stick to your guns even when you get negative feedback from it.
Yeah.
I've created a deck that was all me. Vitreous was all me, and it only received praise after no one was able to buy it. You know, that one I literally did for my dad.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that the stock wasn't what I really wanted it to be. It was a commemoration deck, and the you can't get the private reserves of them because those ones were specifically printed for my family.
Yeah,
You know,
I only had the white one.
Yeah, well, because like the only way that you could get it, you couldn't buy it. It had to be given as a gift,
Oh,
right?
well.
And so, like the day I got them, got a bunch of bricks, and I went to my dad's brothers.
That's
They
cool.
each got a brick. My brothers got bricks. My mom got a brick. You know, so by the time the day was done, I had like one brick left, and I used maybe 6 of them, and the other 6 are in storage in like a box. But
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
But so from that aspect, I think it's important to like know what you're looking to create and be willing to stick to your guns on it, but then accept feedback from the outside world. If it sucks, you need to hear that. If it looks like that won't sell, you need to hear that. You know,
Yeah. I think what he was talking about is of like other designers maybe taking, correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, but other designers taking maybe your ideas and changing them. That's what I got by that.
I think we're all kind of doing that. That's the thing. It's like cards have been around for hundreds of years.
Right.
And trying to come up with a purely original idea, one, you could never prove it. It's like trying to prove a negative.
Yeah.
You're trying to prove that no one else has ever come up with anything even remotely close. And it's the twin paradox, right? Like if people look at me and my twin, half the world thinks we look exactly alike. The other half thinks we look nothing alike. So you'd run into that with 2 designs on the deck. There are people who would look at that, and because they look for an aspect that is most prominent in that design and see something vaguely similar in someone else's, they're like, oh, it's the same deck. And someone else could look at that and be like, you're not even close. That one's blue, you know, like that, you know. So from that aspect, trying to prove originality or anything, it's a losing battle. I think if you can create a beautiful deck of quality, if you can invest the time to create a deck that is original, at least in the sense that it's got you written all over it, I think that's your best chance. You know, you go to Theory 11. It's one of the reasons why I stopped using Theory 11 decks. They make beautiful decks of cards. But to me, they all look the same.
Right.
They all are highly detailed, beautifully printed, excellent tucks. They're all gorgeous, but it got to the point where you couldn't tell one from another.
Yeah.
So I use Green Monarchs, and that's what I use.
I love Monarchs. Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, if you're going to do something similar, that's obviously similar, you know, reach out to the originator of that design and be like, yo, I want to create this or whatever. It's kind of like the whole idea of taking someone's move and selling it. Like like, can I use this? Can I teach it? Can I teach it? So I think it comes down to, you don't want to steal someone else's work and blatantly make something that looks pretty identical to it, whether it's a different color or you change only 20% of it.
Well, like the chicken nuggets, right? Like, I remember the guy who created that caught a whole bunch of flack, and I thought they were brilliant because it's parody.
Right.
You know, it's a parody of something, and it's brilliant because actually the cards felt great, you know, like. But there were all these people who got very up in arms over it, like you don't own the rights or anything like that. But that's the thing about parody law.
Right.
You have to own the rights.
Right.
You know, play by those rules, like, you know. But I
think the craziness behind all that is like the version 1 was fine, and the people who were mad about the version 2, like they had version 1. They bought version 1 from the person.
Yeah, they were a willing customer. Like that's the thing.
Yeah. So all of a sudden they find a problem with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
actually, we've got a whole bunch of questions. Hold on, wait. What's your opinion on gaff decks? Learning to use a gaff deck takes as much skill as learning sleight of hand. So learning to use it well, a gaff deck will not do the job for you. You can suck and use a gaff deck to do a couple of essential tricks, and you're good.
But you still suck.
No, I know guys who use gaffs, and it is an art form using gaffs well.
Yeah.
Shin, perfect example, right? Eric Chen. All these guys, the way they use gaffs is not the way us mere mortals use gaffs. It's a whole different art form.
Eric Chen, that kid's ridiculous.
Yeah. He showed up to my jam one day, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm actually more of a card guy. I was like, oh no, because I only knew him from coins. I thought I was safe. And then he does card magic. I was like, well, it's been a lovely evening. Get out.
I'd love to see him and Shin battle.
It's fun, but that's the thing. He was trying really hard to like distinguish himself because Shin sort of cornered the market on being a card magician on AGT.
Yeah.
You know, who was world famous, who had done, you know, Fool Us, who had won several other competitions, who won FISM. Eric Chen has done a lot of the same things, but a completely different style. But again, like to a normal lay person audience, a card trick. You know?
Yeah.
So
I've seen this one before.
Yeah, when the rest of us are like, oh my God, they're completely different people. You know. So let's see, what was the other question? What is your thoughts on piracy and those websites coming in and selling pirated stuff for a whole lot less than the original? Obviously bad. I mean, obviously it's bad.
Yeah.
You know, the way that content is created, it was created to make money. That money is used to pay payroll and people who work there and people who, and that's only in my case. That's not even the original creators having their stuff stolen off their websites and everything. It was like the first time I looked at my name and found my download being sold by a completely different website that I had zero contracts with. It's easy for me to take that hit because I don't do it professionally.
Yeah.
Right.
But if how you make money and how you feed your family is your personal website, like Orbit, Chris Brown, right?
Yeah.
When he was getting going, he had his website and he had his following and he had his followers and his stuff was getting pirated left and right. Yeah. What can you not pirate? A deck of cards in general. Or it's much harder.
How about people just don't fucking steal? How's that?
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. It's like the line is very fine because there's a bunch of stuff that I learned from other people where I saw a kid who was really investing and then I felt it was pertinent to like teach him something that was taught to me years ago off a DVD that he could buy, but he wouldn't even know to go looking for it.
Right.
And
that's also different than posting it on your website, selling it.
So, but then again, then it's the mercenary problem, right? Like someone says, oh, you released a bunch of secrets on YouTube, you know, and that's my work and I sell that. Right. But if someone says, oh, well, I created that, but then we have that thing of like, we don't know who created it first.
Yeah.
And you say, well, I'm the first person to like publish a DVD on it and you just went on YouTube and exposed all of it. The only argument that you can make is that the only reason someone should get it from you and not this other person is because you charge money for it.
Right.
And that's a tough argument to make. You know, like everyone who says no magic should be taught on YouTube is speaking from a point of privilege. They're always speaking from a point where they didn't have to learn it from there. They had the resources or they had the mentors or they had the means and ways to earn the money to buy those resources and they had the time and all of that is a privilege.
Right. You know, I mean, it has to be on YouTube. There has to be people teaching it for people to get more involved in it. Like
everyone is pulling a secret at some point, you know, like
dude, I would not be here if it wasn't for learning a trick on YouTube. Tyler probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't learning a trick on YouTube. Like, let's be honest, probably everybody in the room here learned a trick from someone, whether it was watching David Blaine's Street Magic and like Googled it 10 years later or whatever the case may be. Like, we're all here because we saw a video. And it's just, it is what it is. And it helps the community grow because the only people that are looking for magic tricks and how to do them are people who are interested in wanting to learn magic tricks to do them.
No one even knows, like, they're all like, oh, you're exposing it to lay people. Lay people don't even know the keywords. Like,
no,
they don't care. If you're doing a double lift correctly, they don't know it's two cards, which means they don't even know that the word double is involved.
Right. Yeah. No, so they don't know at all.
It's that whole thing of like assuming knowledge outside of your itty bitty teeny tiny ecosystem. Yeah. It's not going to play, right?
Yeah.
So I am honestly for like, by all means, teach on social media. Go for it.
I do have to say one thing with the whole idea though of piracy behind it, and I think, you know, in this day and age, piracy is so commonplace across all industries. I think a lot of time, especially in the magic community, that people don't realize is that, like you said, these people are relying on these downloads and these things that they're teaching for their livelihood in many cases. And so when you pirate it from someone like a small creator, it's not some nameless, faceless corporation who's making billions of dollars a year and $20 from the movie theater is going to, do nothing to them. It's someone who very well could be, living paycheck to paycheck, hoping for that royalty check off of something from Penguin or wherever, and you're going to share it or pirate it, and then you really
set up a website where you're earning from work you didn't put in.
Yeah,
which is the other thing is like it's different if you sit down and you record yourself teaching what you understand about something.
Yeah, right.
That's a completely different thing than you buying a book, chopping the spine off, scanning every page, and then selling the PDF like you're the publisher.
Exactly.
Right? Or someone taking like my download off Illusionist and then selling it on a website. I don't care personally because it doesn't hurt me. But I know every person in that company that it does hurt. I know the guys who had to sit there and film it. My first download was created by with Illusionist was created by Peter McKinnon.
Yeah.
Right. The next one was created by Dwayne. Yeah. Right. All the guys, Lloyd, Garrett, all these guys who like I now know personally, it hurts them because they're the ones who invested in me, and you just stole out of their pocket. Like if it does well, all the better for my relationship with them, because that means I gave them something worthwhile. But you steal it from them. Now you're stealing from the potential that I had the ability to give in value to them. Yeah. That's the only way that it hurts me, right? So when it comes to piracy, I think that's very different than saying, "Oh, you stole my idea and taught it on YouTube." Those are two separate arguments in my
100% agree.
Yeah.
But I just stealing is bad. Don't be a dick about it. Like
yeah, exactly. Don't be a douche and don't steal. So I think and I'm the same. I mean, obviously, I think we're all in the same boat as like if you're gonna take someone's like livelihood and give it away because you stole it, like that's just not nice.
Then you're a thief. That's what that makes. It doesn't matter what the reasons you're doing it for, and they may be very good reasons. You may have your own kids at home that you're trying to. Or you're going about it is wrong. The way you should go about it is work your ass off like they did. Get to the point where they offer you the chance to record, and then you release your own work.
Yeah, or
that's
call
how
them.
that's supposed to go. Yeah.
Or message them and say, "I need to feed my kids, and I can do your move really well. Can I teach your move and make money off you?"
I've gotten that, like the kickback pitch. I'm good friends with Asid Chadrick. They're the 52 cards.
52 cards, yeah.
And he catches so much hell for teaching on YouTube. But the truth is, there's a whole generation of magicians that started there.
Yeah.
So as much as people may gripe and moan about him teaching how to do a double lift or something from Harry Lorraine or whatever, the truth is there's a whole generation of magicians that are going to thank him because they wouldn't have gotten started. For them, that's their Mark Wilson's Complete Course in Magic.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. So we'll jump off that. But
yeah, for sure. No, that was great.
So we actually had a Kyle question too, which I forgot. We got a weird question from Luke, so I forgot we had a Kyle question. Where are we here? Sorry, I just got to find. Oh, here we go. This also is unrelated to magic in any way, shape, or form. These are usually just strange questions. So here you go. Why do people say like taking candy from a baby when babies tend to freak out if you take their candy? Wouldn't it be easier to say wouldn't it be easier to take money from a baby?
He makes a good point. Having to take things from my children, I can tell you, A, they cry, and B, they fight you. Like babies have super strong grips. They like pound for pound, they're as strong as bears. They just are, right? So taking candy from them, especially something they really enjoy, is a painful process for everyone involved. Now, money, it's still the same thing. I think it is probably like taking money from a degenerate gambler. Like that's probably that. But taking anything from a baby is hard ass work. Okay, just coming from a parent of a 10-month-old right now. Anyway, that's my. There you go. That's my 2 cents on it.
Listen, that was better than I would have thought because I would have literally just been like, "That's a rhetorical question."
Yeah, right. Wait, Steve. Steve, when
Steve, he muted himself. Steve.
Oh, he's talking to someone, I think.
Oh, no.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
There we go.
Okay. I know exactly what Kyle's talking about, and because I say it, and I think what it comes down to is you're the father of that baby, and you care if they're going to cry. But what it comes down to, if I wanted to walk up to a baby and steal his trick-or-treat candy, it'd be pretty easy. I'll just yank it out of his hand. But
you haven't met my son. My son will shank you. My son, I love my son, but my son is I have a bite mark from this morning from when I took something from my son. Like,
you know what though?
Level, like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're bigger than him, but some kids are bulldogs, bro. Like
they are. I agree, but you know what? If you you just have a heart for your child, you're not going to walk up to him and steal his candy.
I think you're greatly underestimating how badly I want candy right now.
Yeah, no,
but let's be honest. If your kid was putting candy in his mouth and you was afraid he was going to choke on it, that candy would be out of his hand.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay.
So I think what it comes down to is like
it just turned into a much deeper conversation than I figured it would be. It's actually, yeah. All right,
why does a baby have candy in the first place? That was a question from Luke there.
Yeah, but, why is the baby eating candy?
Yeah, right. Bad parent. What is it? Yeah. Right.
Let's
see. Vernon or Marlowe. Study both and then decide for yourself. I make a joke that anything that I do that I can't remember where it's from, I just say it's unpublished Marlowe, because the guy never had an unpublished thought, and we keep rewarding him for this. But like, the truth is, you should study both. You should study Vernon for deep concepts. You should study Marlowe for moves.
Yeah,
nice.
When's your little guy getting his first deck of cards?
He already does, dude. I'm not kidding. All right, if Jackson is still listening to this, I swear to God, my son will find the most expensive deck that I have in my proximity and use that as a chew toy. I don't know what. He's drawn to quality. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. He's got good taste.
That ended up as food. That's
he is a kid. That's how he got candy.
Right.
Kyle says he's Canadian, so it's Venom. I mean Vernon. God, my eyes.
I'm sorry. No, wrong CA. Vernon spent enough time in California. He's California. Sorry. I know there's Ontario CA and it goes both ways, but no, he was a Californian. If he ate avocados, he was a Californian. Sorry.
You know what? Kyle always tries to claim people. The only people we give him credit for, not even credit. We don't give him credit. The only people we actually give him is Biba. He can have him.
Yeah, twice. You can have him twice.
Yeah, that's in what's her name? The Celine Dion. They can have him to have her too.
I don't know. She's probably spent more time in
treasure. You shut your filthy mouth.
Yeah. I don't know which one I want. I don't know which one I want to go back faster, is her or Biba.
You don't want to hear more about her hair?
Both of them.
Oh, both of you. Oh God.
I mean, listen. I'll take Celine Dion over Bieber any day of the week. But like at the same time, there are a lot of other Canadians I'd much rather keep. So,
like Kyle, I'd rather keep Kyle than Celine Dion.
Wow. Yeah, that works. Kyle.
Wow. A lot of anger.
Keep Biba. Nickelback. No thanks.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Stop picking on.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
I've asked this to a couple of guests, but you are stranded on an island and you can take three decks of cards. What do you take?
I would take Whispering Imps, the Black Whispering Imps deck. I would take one of the deck that Illusionist just made for me, because they did a really good job on it. And then I would probably take. God, there's been a lot of cards.
I know, right?
I would take an original long flap casino style aristocrat deck.
Oh,
not
nice.
Broadway seconds. Not Broadway seconds. The actual like long flap in the aristocrat casino box deck.
Nice.
Because for me that was money. The day I felt those, I never went back.
Yeah.
I got them by accident. I opened them up, not realizing they were worth $1 billion, and I found out why. Like, anytime I can get my hands on those ones are like my jam.
Nice. Maybe
So now-
maybe someone will send you one.
Yeah, right.
So now, you mentioned a couple times here, and I know we discussed this in the pre-show, that magic is not your primary occupation. Why didn't you decide to go that route?
Because I did, and I didn't like it.
Okay.
It was I bought into the thing that they said, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, and that's probably more clever than true. I think I bought into the myth that because I like something, I had to turn it into a profession in order to take it seriously, and that's not the case. I've gotten far further in magic as an amateur than I ever did as a professional, because there wasn't the pressure to perform what makes money.
The expectation,
create what will generate income. And I think with that freedom came the ability to create what I most enjoyed doing. That's why I don't perform on the regular. And I still perform, like for friends and family on occasion. I'll do a gig now and again. But it also gives me the ability to step back. I've got a beautiful wife and 2 young kids that own my heart and my world far more than cards ever did. And it gives me the chance to stop for a sec and focus on that, and the food keeps coming in. I work. I'm in my office right now. It's dead empty, but I work.
The Matrix office.
Yeah, the Matrix office. That's right. Yes, Mr. Anderson. No, but I work every day with my identical twin brother. And
That's cool.
And I do something that is intriguing and professionally is challenging, and that I'll let that stand. And this is my passion, right? That give me a deck of cards and a mat and some good music playing in the background, and I'm home. And the day that's not the case, I'll step away from it. I'll learn coin magic instead. I will become the best thumb tip magician you have ever seen.
Want to thumb wrestle?
That's one of the things. And that's why I warn people. I am the worst example of doing something professionally and finding your passion with it. That really wasn't how it turned out for me. I actively have avoided any time where it could turn into a profession because I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose the chance to just sort of sit and shuffle a deck of cards and feel peace. Instead of this thing of God damn it, I got to come up with another video that'll get at least 1,000 likes, so that way it says thousands of people like this.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I actually sacrificed 1,000 followers to learn that lesson. I had 57,000 followers. Actually, what are we up to? We're near 2,000 followers. That was a tough kick. Every time I lose 100 followers, I look to my wife and I go, I lost another 100, and my wife goes, "Oh, honey, I'm sorry, but it's good. That's good. That's exactly what I do. My focus is where it's supposed to be." And the guys being 1,000 followers have burned it. Damn it.
Yeah, they're hustling.
Not always. Not always.
Well, sometimes earned 1,000 engaged followers.
Yeah, true followers.
The people who have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, they, okay, fine, you game the algorithm. But chances are you weren't a millionaire who just paid someone to game the algorithm for you. Yeah, you busted your ass to figure out how to do it. Yeah. So for them, I can't fault any of that,
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. Yeah. Someone asked my C.S. Lewis book is The Problem of Pain, followed closely by the Screw Tape Letters. So Problem of Pain is the deepest philosophy I've ever read. Screw Tape Letters, there wasn't a single chapter in that book that I didn't find a piece of myself. So there you go. We got that one handled.
What's your day job?
I am the manager of quality assurance for a software company in Southern California. So we write Telnet emulation software, which is a totally not sexy and absolutely essential piece of software. And I'm the guy that makes sure that it doesn't go boom. So our software gets used by Nike, by FEMA, basically if anything needs to get scanned through logistics software, there's a very real chance it's used by my software. So perfect example, right? If you buy a Rubbermaid trash can, it's probably been scanned by my software 5 times by 5 different companies. So it was scanned by the manufacturing company that does the little pellets that Newell uses in order to press them into a trash can. It was scanned by Newell when it was created. It was scanned by BNSF. when it was put on the train and scanned by them again when it was taken off the train, and then it was scanned by whatever hardware store you bought it at. And all of them are customers.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
That's cool.
Right? And it's a family company. So like my dad started it when we were super young. And then when he passed, my twin brother and I took it over. My twin brother he's the heir apparent. He's the reason I get to do this, is because he's the one who doubled down and took on the challenge of creating or not only maintaining a company, but growing it as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if we have any success, we can very, very reasonably point toward my twin brother.
Nice.
And the team that he created out of it. So
That's cool.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So what kind of drove you to it? You mentioned earlier that you majored in science and mathematics. Or physics and mathematics? What drove you that route?
I was good at it.
Right.
In high school, it just clicked. I had a lot of really good teachers in those areas, and it clicked. Actually, the physics teacher that I had in high school is the guy that manages like all of like the network infrastructure for this company. My dad got out of it. Yeah. And so I actually work with my former physics teacher from high school.
That is cool.
And I love the idea of like, they see the world differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I love hanging out with people that see the world differently. Like not in a contentious way, not like I want to hang out with a guy who hates all the things that I love and loves all the things. It's more like I want to meet the guy who thinks about the world in a completely different viewpoint. You know, I want to be with the poker player who like thinks of the world in bets, or the mixologist who cannot have just a regular drink. It has to taste like gummy bears. You know, like stuff like that. Like I want to collect the savants and then hang out with them all day. You know,
if you find the guy who makes everything taste like gummy bears, you give me his number because I want to hang out with him too.
I'm not kidding you. His name is Andrew Winters.
Okay.
And Andrew I think it's Winters. Let me double check.
Winter.
I'll send you his profile, but that guy can make anything taste like anything.
This sounds phenomenal because I love things that taste like gummy bears that necessarily aren't gummy bears.
It's kind of, why don't you just eat a gummy bear?
Because I'm very much, I'll be honest about it. I'm the guy who goes to the bar. Andrew Winters. All right.
Andrew Winters. Yeah, he was actually the mixologist at the place where I first started performing again to sort of get my chops back up, because there's no way to like get better than like performing live. And he was the main mixologist there, and he's very, very good at what he does.
Nice.
So,
Cool.
Anyway, yeah.
It's interesting. My girlfriend and I were talking about this yesterday. We were watching. Actually, it was America's Got Talent, and there's this little kid on there, and he's on the spectrum, and he plays the piano and he also plays the drums. I don't know if anybody saw this episode from the other day yet. Look him up. He was on the last episode of AGT, and it's really cool just thinking about how his mind looks at music. Like I would love to be in his head, seeing like all the
synesthesia of all of it. Yeah.
Oh my God, like the shapes that are going on in the sun.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be so cool.
Percussion is color. Like that's what
oh my God.
One of those people. That's why I like reading all those books on and what's funny is a lot of them are drawn to magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you ever have a conversation with Garrett Thomas about philosophy, that dude does not look at the world the same way that you and I do. And it feeds what he does. You know, you sit with Darwin Ortiz, like you read that guy's books, and it's weird. Like Darwin is one of those guys where you read his books and then you sit down with him, and it seems like they're completely opposite people. And I didn't have an appreciation for it until I met like his protege, Jason Ledani. Right. And Jason is one of those guys where you can tell he has studied his master well and then gone beyond it. Right. Yeah. And I sat and I had a very long conversation with him, just sort of about like philosophy and all that. And you could tell these guys just don't see the world the same way.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
Their head long enough to come up with something new.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like, I think, we even talked about it with Dan the other day. I think magicians or illusionists or whatever, I think they're all weird in their own way, right? I think to be a magician you got to be a little weird.
Yeah. I think that's fair, or at least to be a successful one.
Yeah.
I think
like your mind has to work differently.
There's you get I know I pick on these guys a lot, but it's a little true. You get the guys who wear fedoras and cargo shorts and keep making the cane appear. You've got that crowd.
Yeah.
And then you've got the guys who think that everyone else is buying into the mystique. You know,
Yeah.
the guys who do that, and no one is.
Yeah.
They just aren't. You know, no one gets why you dress as a wizard. And then there's that line where they could, if not for like serious self-awareness, they could float either way. But because they have that serious self-awareness, they are goddamn wizards.
Yeah.
They just are, you know. And those guys are the ones I want to like hang out with and see how they think, you know. So anyway, there's a guy. If playing cards had to be a different shape, what would they be? They wouldn't. They've tried.
Yeah, you can't.
They've tried.
They're annoying. The square ones, the diamond ones, they're obnoxious.
There's a scientific reason for it, though.
The circle
because
one.
we're obsessed with the golden ratio. So here, right? So average card, right? And everyone says, oh, it's a ratio of like 2 to 3. It's close. And that's not the case. If you were to take a card and fold this diagonal.
He's just ruining these cards today.
I've already eaten half of them, you know. So if you take that, right?
Yeah.
This diagonal is the exact same length as that side.
Interesting.
That's the golden ratio. It's why books that are golden ratio and shape sell better than ones that are square. We're obsessed with it. So I don't think it would work any other way. I think
but isn't the golden ratio even if you had a square, wouldn't that be the same? I mean, not a square, like a triangle.
No, but you could use triangles to generate the golden ratio.
That's what I'm saying. Because doesn't everything make the golden ratio?
No, or at least it's not contained or displayed in all the same ways. Like, yes, it's everywhere, but there's a purposeful amount. Like the golden ratio is all over your human body, right? But I really do think that's the only shape that would work now, because this has been presented. I don't think there's one that could be presented as better.
Oh, it couldn't take this over. But if this didn't exist, what do you think would be your go-to?
Show up. I think this one would show up eventually. People would settle again on this.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I actually didn't pick up a deck of cards for the longest time, right? Okay. And then when I started to get back into it and I bought a deck of Monarchs, that was my first deck that I bought when I started to get into Magic, and I held it in my hand. I was like, dang, this thing's tiny. Like, I don't remember the deck being this small, probably because I was just a lot younger when I originally. Right? Yeah. It just felt like I was like, roar, tiny.
Yeah, like
deck.
you're the giant. Yeah,
so
it's like you're a bunch of bananas just wrapping around. Yeah,
it was so funny.
Like your elementary school and sit at your original desk, and you're like, oh my god, I'm huge.
Yeah, and now I'm like, damn, this deck is so huge. I can't even do this move. It's so weird. It's just.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I said deck, buddy.
Any last questions, I guess, before we kind of
yeah, what do we got left? Anybody last?
We'll give it a quick last call here and see what's up, and then
dude, it was fucking amazing having you on. It's so cool.
Absolutely.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
Please, dude, we definitely got to do it again.
Yeah, anytime you want to come back, you are more than welcome. This was a fun time, man.
Yeah. That would be a blast. That would be really, really cool. And just remember that I need to pack USB-C because they do.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was something I'm not sure that I'm glad that I know about it so much, but now that I do know about it, it's
learn something
to keep it in my back pocket, you know.
It's all about knowing.
Yeah, as you go, you know.
It's all about knowing.
Oh my god. Well, listen, and at the end of the day, you don't have to try and eat a card next time if you do come back on. So
because you've already done it. You've already done it.
You passed that hurdle, so you got it out of the way.
Yeah, no longer.
Actually, I have a better idea. Next time you come on, you can create a trick that makes it look like you bit the card.
Too late.
But dude, you can just name it something else. No, but you can name it something else, and it'll be yours. Come on.
That's true. Yeah, this is the Griffith variation of the Lake Point. Yeah.
This is called the stew bite. This is what I call it. The stew bite.
Yeah, stew bite. That's right.
Looks like no more questions. It looks like we went over everything.
So, Jeremy, thank you so much for being on tonight. We really do appreciate having you on the show. It was an absolute blast. And thank you to everyone who came out to watch the show as well. I'm not going to forget today about announcing the guest. I'm stealing part of Steve's job. But next week, make sure to tune in. We are actually going to be having Lautrec on the show. So this is going to be a fun one. Yeah. So for all the card lovers out there, I'm sure you're excited about this one. And again, Jeremy, thank you so much, though. It was a blast.
Yeah,
man.
dude. Such a blast. It was cool. After seeing you on all these Instagram videos,
everything like, oh, I recognize his button.
Oh, he's a real person. He has a body.
Oh my gosh,
cool.
yeah, he actually has a head. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much.
No problem. You guys take care. I'll chat with you later.
Yeah.
Have a nice one,
peace
everyone.
out, y'all.
Good night.